Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And obviously, look, I feel like we've known each other way longer than we actually have. So when did we officially meet, like via Zoom?
Honestly, I was thinking about that the other day, and I actually have no idea. It was somewhere in the summer, so maybe 5-6 months ago. I
Yeah,
want to say.
which is crazy. And so you got introduced to me from Simona, who has not been on the show yet, but she will be on the show in the future. And you guys are both in the Skeleton Key Mastermind, and it's been quite the journey and the experience of being able to meet up in different cities, in our country, not yours. Maybe one day we'll do your country. But just you're like, I don't want to. I want to leave my country.
Exactly. Go somewhere new. I'm happy with everywhere you're choosing.
Yeah, and it's been quite the experience, but I'm just blown away by the business that you've built in the manner that you've built it. And I think the story is fascinating. So why don't we start with what made you get into the digital marketing space? How did that all start? And how crazy was that leap into entrepreneurship for you?
Absolutely. So to be completely honest with you, when I first heard about making money online, I was like, this is a complete scam. There's no way this is possible. So it was my partner at the time. So my ex, he called him this hippie Jedi. He found some guy on YouTube one day and he's like, woke up the next morning. He's like, I have this perfect plan. We're going to make money online, be able to travel the world. I'm like, get a real job, not happening. I'm currently in school for marketing. And so long story short, we kind of split paths. He went down this route and I went down the corporate route. So I finished my university degree, got a corporate job, and watched him for an entire year travel the world and make money online, or at least that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this guy actually making money online? Like, is this actually legit? And my sister and I went on a cruise to Europe, and we actually met him in Spain, and he showed me right then and there, this is what I've been doing for the last year. I've actually been able to travel to all these countries. I still am making money. And yes, you can do this online. From that moment, literally my entire outlook on life changed. Like, I almost didn't go home, and my sister was like, no, you have to go home. Like, you have a job, you have to give 2 weeks notice, like all the good
stuff. Do the polite things. You are Canadian, so you have to follow all the rules.
Yeah. And I'm a rule follower. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I went home, and within 90 days, I said, you know what, this is enough. And he actually hired me to manage his Facebook page. And that was the very first thing. And all he said was, okay, how much money do you need to make to quit your job tomorrow? And I was like, okay, I lived at home with my parents. I have a car payment and I want to do stuff. So I don't know, like $500,000 a month, like that's fine. So he paid me to do that. And that kind of jumped me into the entrepreneur space. So a lot of people are like, you need to make a lot of money. You have to replace your full income. Like, I did not do that, but I started when I was 23. So I was very young and didn't have a mortgage and all that stuff yet. So that was the initial jump, but I went from completely, this is a scam, all the way to, all right, let's do this. Wow. Now, when he was first starting out, he was actually making money through affiliate marketing. So that was the initial thing that I went into. So for anyone who doesn't know what affiliate marketing is, it's more common now, but essentially you're selling other people's products for commission. Now, a lot of people are doing low ticket items. He started off with high ticket items. So I was selling $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 programs and making the commission on it.
So were they like coaching packages or?
Yeah, it was a coaching program that essentially taught people how to build a business online. It was kind of like a business in a box.
Sure.
And so, yeah, so I was selling those, and long story short, that's where I learned how to do Facebook ads, how to do email marketing, how to do sales funnels, how to essentially build a business and make money online.
No, I love it. And it's such a fascinating thing because, like, what year was this all happening when you were like, no, you can't make money online? Like, what year are we talking about?
That was 2014.
So 2014. And that was really the catalyst for when a lot of people were jumping into the space that you're in. And I actually recall a guy locally to me who does something similar. And he just moved to a different country. He was local to me, moved to Miami for a couple of years, built this incredible business. Now he lives in a different country for he's doing it for 6 months or whatever. And really kind of doing that nomad life. And I think that's what was kind of sold to people was like, hey, you can live anywhere, do anything and all that stuff in between. And I make all my money online too. And I've never left. I just kind of stayed in my place. I mean, I travel from time to time, but I've just stayed in Berks County. So obviously, did you ever get to travel or okay, tell me a little bit about that. I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, so I've traveled to over 23 different countries. I literally was living the dream life. I was never home. So again, lived at my parents. So I was come and please as I went. I would jump from location to location, mostly with other people who were building a business online inside that company, the affiliate marketing company. And I did it. I was able to grow a business while jumping on a plane or sit on the beach. You make videos while on the beach. Like it was a totally different experience that a
Yeah.
lot of people get to go through, but it gave me that foundation to be able to travel a lot when I was younger. Now, obviously, things are a little bit different, but I did get to travel a lot.
Yeah, now you're married, you have a kid, so the traveling's a little bit different. So that's hence,
Yeah.
Skeleton Key can swoop in and be like, hey, there's a couple trips a year that you're going to be taking, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But I think it's fascinating too. You built a business on something and then completely really kind of pivoted. And now you do the digital marketing and Facebook ads and funnels and all that stuff. What did that look like? Because I think a lot of people listening feel like they might be stuck in a lane
Mhm.
and they're a little afraid to shift because like, what if I don't get clients? What if I lose the clients I currently have? What was that like for you? What made you make that pivot?
It honestly landed in my lap, which I know some people don't want to hear. But when I was getting good results with the affiliate marketing company, people started to say, hey, how are you getting these results? Can you help me? And so with my ex at the time, he was in the same space. So he ended up getting people asking him. And what ended up happening was he decided to create an agency on the front end, and I was his back end secret weapon. That is what he called me. And there's three other guys that he worked with at the time. So they were the front end agency. I was behind the scene.
Yeah.
It naturally happened. They're like, hey, I want results just like you. Can you guys get it for me? They paid us. And that's kind of how it went. But we started falling into the MLM space and affiliate marketers, which there was such a bad rap at that time that you place an ad and you're going to be rich overnight. It
Yeah.
does not happen that way whatsoever. I wish it did. I wish I could make that magical thing happen for everyone, but doesn't work that way. And I honestly got frustrated with it. I was at a point that I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have these low expectations for people. I wanted to get people really, really good results. So long story short, I was the behind the scenes secret weapon. We were doing extremely, extremely well, but then we started to venture off into small business owners and entrepreneurs. So coaches, consultants, photographers, that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Still worked with affiliate marketing space, still worked with MLM space. Like that's totally fine. It just was kind of a shift. But the biggest transition that happened for me to get out of this lane. So I went from following my ex into affiliate marketing, following him into the agency. And then one day we were in Mexico, we were having a team trip, and which again, this is the travel side of me. So we're in Mexico for 3 weeks and it was like a dream come true. We were rented an Airbnb, which is totally different than what I've ever done when traveling, typically all inclusives, or you go to backpackers resorts, like that type of stuff.
Sure.
So we're at this Airbnb in this private community, and I think we're about halfway through our trip at this point, and we'd go out, explore, we go to the beach, work whenever we kind of just worked at nighttime or whatever the day looked like. And I remember the three guys, they brought me upstairs, and it's like this beautiful rooftop, overlooked the water. Like that's where I spent most of my days working. And they sat me down. They're like, you know what, Lisa, like we're really happy with all the results that you're getting us and all the clients and blah, blah, blah. Gave me this whole spiel, which was like super nice because I felt noticed at that point. Being
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes all the time, it was never, oh, here's Lisa getting the results. It was always, we have this behind the scenes secret weapon that
Yeah.
works good for us. So I felt seen. And then all of a sudden they said, we have to let you go. And that moment
Wow.
in my life, I was like heartbroken for one. Like here I am with my ex. Like we were still really good friends at that point. I've been working with them for a couple of years now. We have a really good relationship. We're in Mexico, for God's sake. Like we're having this trip. And they said, we have to let you go. And blindsided, like did not see it coming, nothing. And I
What was the
remember
reason?
just so they said you were too expensive. It's time to flap your wings and fly. At that point, I'm like pissed. I'm like, I don't like you guys. Like, how can you do this to me? Like, worst thing ever.
Yeah. And I'm
So they
stuck in a
booked,
different country with you now.
yeah. Well, actually, they booked my flight home for the next day. So cut my trip short. And I'm like, I don't want to go back to Canada. It's cold right now. So I left and I went home and I was like, I have no idea what to do. Like, no idea. And I remember my friend saying to me, you know what? You have a blank slate. You have no job. You live at your parents. You've been traveling. You've made good money the last couple of years. Like, what do you actually want to do? And I really liked what I did. I really like the ads. I really like the funnels. I like the digital marketing world because it's a game, and being someone who's super competitive, I'm always trying to beat myself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I'm their secret weapon. So let's just start it myself. So then I started my own marketing agency. I had no idea how to get clients because they did that for me for years. I knew
Right.
all of the back stuff. So I feel like that's the moment that I actually stepped into true entrepreneurship. Is I actually had to take it into my own hands, figure out how to get my own clients, figure out how to manage all the money, figure out how to manage the clients, like the whole shebang.
Sure.
And that is the path that I kind of went down. It was scary, super scary, but that was 8 years ago now. And here I
Wow.
am. I'm still running a marketing agency, helping entrepreneurs scale their business through digital marketing and automation.
I love it. It's such a cool story. And I didn't know that part about the Mexico experience and the fact that, like, first of all, bunch of assholes.
Yeah,
Like, who
that's what I
does
said.
that? Like, if
But
you're
you know
going to do
what?
it, like, let the trip run out and then, once we're
Literally.
home, we'll figure this out. Like, that's just crazy.
I was like, do you just want my bed for someone? Like, what's happening? Like, I don't know. But at that time, yeah, assholes in my opinion, but I love them now because if they didn't give me that boot, I would not be where I am today.
For sure. Now, do you communicate with them at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
See, that's
So no hard feelings.
yeah. So it all comes back full circle, right? And the understanding of, like, sometimes you need that boot in order to make
Mhm.
that large leap that you need to make in life, right? Like, I think about the last job I ever had, I got fired from.
Mhm.
And if it weren't for that, I still would have been the person going, well, once I make a little bit more in the business that I'm building on the side, then I'll leave. Once I make a little bit
Yeah.
more, then I'll leave. And I really had to make the leap. Like, you talk about, you have to replace your income. That's not true. Like, I was making in my business half of what my salary was at my job
Mhm.
when I left. Now, obviously, that was pinching pennies for a couple months until I really figured it out. But that's what you have to do. You have to
Mhm.
get out of your comfort zone in order to see if you can flap your wings, like you said,
Yeah.
and fly. And so kudos to you for being able to do that and grabbing the bull by the horns and running. So let's talk a little bit about the digital marketing space, right? You said 8 years ago. How much has changed in those 8 years? And then how can you constantly keep up with what changes? This is why people need you, because there's always so many changes. So talk to me a little bit about that process.
Yeah. So when I first got into it, it was a lot of blogging and everyone's all SEO focused, everything like social media. It was a thing, but it wasn't the end all be all. Like I never even thought about what I posted on Instagram. Did not even think about hashtags. I didn't think about anything. I just lived my life and posted when I felt like it.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, I've started off with blogging. Now, obviously, social media, there's so many different things that you can do, paid advertising standpoint, but the process that I've followed over the last 8 years has not changed. You do really 4 things, and I like to call this the 4 C's. You captivate an audience. So who do you want to attract online, whether that is blogging, whether it's paid advertising, organic social media? You essentially want to attract people to you. First C. Second C is collect. How do you collect someone's contact information? AKA, how do you actually generate a lead? There's a million different ways that we can do this, whether you're doing free webinars, you're doing free mini courses, you have a download that someone does. Essentially, all you're trying to do is grab someone's contact information. The next C is connect. So you want to actually connect with people. Can you do that through email marketing, text messages, direct messaging on social media, just building that relationship with people? And then the last C is convert. You convert them into clients, sales, whatever the case may be for the back end. So that 4C process, I didn't necessarily call it the 4C process when I first started, but that process hasn't changed. What has changed and what has evolved is the way that we actually interact online. So if you think about how you use social media 8 years ago, most of it was probably connecting with friends and family. You did like to read those long articles. Like people spent more time consuming content, whereas now it's quick, quick, quick. Let's get
Yeah.
to the point. It's just everyone wants everything on demand. That is the biggest shift that's happened over the last few years, is that we need information now and people expect that information now. So it's not necessarily switching a process that I've done. It's just refining the process and making sure that we're always keeping up to, one, how social media is actually working and how people are engaging with it. But 2, what do people actually want? Is someone going to sit through an hour and a half webinar, or do they want a checklist? So it's keeping up with the behaviors.
Yeah.
But at that point too, it's also really, really understand who it is that you're talking to. In the past, most people will come to me and say, hey, I just want leads. I want clients. I want this. And just whoever will pay me, get me them. That doesn't work anymore on social media. before with digital marketing, yeah, you can kind of just shout to the world and people would interact with you, engage with you. But now you have to be super, super specific on who, what, and why.
Yeah. No, and it's so true. And I think it is forever, like forever evolving. Obviously, 8 years ago, it was probably, well, it was 7.5 years ago when I launched the podcast. And that's when I started using social media to like promote things. Before that, I was consuming in a slow pace, a slow manner. And it's so true. Everything is so quick now, and just paying attention to what's evolving and what's changing. Now, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. We're talking about obviously the back end processes of what you do and the funnels and everything. But a lot of people that don't understand the back end, they go, okay, well, I get social media, right? I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Do I need a TikTok? Do I need a Twitter? Do I need a whatever? Do you believe in omnipresence as something that's super important? Like you're literally on every platform producing content, doing that types of thing. Is that necessary in order to create the success in the back end?
It's not necessary, but I like it because you basically are creating this bubble of you. So the bigger of a bubble that you can create and keep people in your bubble, that's obviously going to benefit you. But I actually started off with Facebook solely. Like everything was just my Facebook page, Facebook ads, everything to do with Facebook.
Right.
As the time comes, that's kind of how I evolved. Now, if someone's just getting started, then pick one platform that your dream client is hanging out on. Then you can slowly start to diversify yourself on the different platforms, because it can be super overwhelming. There's a lot that you can do online. So it's not to say that you have to do every single platform. It's more so, where is your dream client hanging out? Make sure you are showing up there for them. It's not where you want to hang out. It's where is that dream client hanging out? Show up there, start there, get that converting. It then slowly increase your presence online.
Yeah. Now, when we're thinking about content creation, I've realized this over time, right? People want to follow people, not brands. So like my Instagram at one point was GNM podcast, had like 700 followers, and we just kind of sat at that number. And once I switched and started getting a little bit more personal, we very quickly went up to almost 6,000 followers. And that's kind of where we're living now for a while. But like, I go, okay, I made that shift. But what do you say to clients that come to you and go, well, I don't feel like getting super personal on social media? Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah. So how I like to say it is, if you're on an airplane with a stranger, what would you share to them? And that is the same that you would show up on your social media. Or if you're talking to a client, what would you say to them? If you don't want to share about all the hard stuff that's going on in your life, you don't have to. You can literally pick and choose what you want to show up online. It's just a matter of, you need to have that balance of being a person as well as just being that expert. So again, if you ask me, hey, how was your weekend? I'm going to share how my weekend was. So same thing, put that on your social media. But you're right to say that the personal brands do build that deeper connection with someone. That is going to build your presence a lot more, because people like to do business with people. And if I have that conversation with a client, it's typically, I don't want to show up on my face because I don't like being on social media. I don't want to be that person creating awkward videos. Like, I get it. It sucks in the beginning, but eventually you just kind of get over it. So again, if you're working with clients and someone is working with you personally, they're the person, or you're the person they want to see on the front end.
Got it. Yeah. No, and I love the way you worded it. Like, what would you share with a stranger on a plane, right? As you're getting to know them in that short amount of time. I think that's a genius way, because a lot of people don't like to share the hard stuff. They don't like to share the vulnerability and all those things. But how do we get personal without doing that? It's such a great answer. So what does the future look like for you? I'm sure you're constantly have your finger on the pulse of what's changing and what's next. What are we seeing as the next evolution of, whether it be funnel building or ads or whatever, or even new social media platforms? What are you seeing now?
So in terms of the actual industry, what am I seeing? I see actually people creating systems and processes a lot more. And I feel like ever since COVID hit, I found people had time to really look inside their business, and they're seeing those gaps. So grateful side of that. But yeah, setting up those systems and processes, I'm not seeing so many just saying, I want leads, because if they get that uptick of leads and they don't have anything to support it on the back end, things fall and things fall through the cracks. You're going to miss following up with people. You're not going to get the conversions on the back end that you're seeing. So I actually, over the past year and a bit, I've seen a lot more people focusing on the entire system versus just small pieces of a system. And what I mean by that is going back to that 4C process. How do you actually attract people? Making sure that's leading into a system that will automatically collect people's contact information, build that relationship with them, position yourself as that expert, answer questions for you. So by the time they actually reach out to move forward with your offer in whatever capacity that is, they already have built that relationship with you. They know, like, and trust you, which at the end of the day is going to allow you to convert things a lot quicker on the back end.
Yeah, no, such a great approach. And so, like, who would benefit from really diving into the back end stuff on social media, running ads, stuff like that? Like, what organizations or types of businesses have you seen are benefiting from it? Is it everybody?
Mhm. So I hate saying everybody. Yes, it will, but it really comes down to understanding what systems you need within your business. So I spend a lot of times customizing a lot of the back end stuff. And it's more so, where do you see yourself constantly doing the same thing over and over and over again? Or where do you see yourself missing the mark with it because you're too busy? So how I like to do it, and a lot of people that I work with, is anyone who is the face of their business. So the coaches, the consultants, the people that have online courses, mortgage agents, photographers, personal trainers, the people, they are their brand. They're the personal brand. People are coming to them because they're the expert. At this stage, when you are the face of your business, you either going to need to hire a team on the back end, or you're going to need the systems and processes to help support your business so you can still do the things that you love. So it's getting to a point when you're getting too busy within your business to manage the sales, the marketing, the follow-up. That's typically when I see people really need it.
Yeah, no, I love it. So obviously I've seen you continue to grow your business massively over the last 6 months or so, and scaling and growing. What do you do to hold yourself accountable to the things that you've kind of created in your life, as far as like your goals, your to-dos, all those things? And then beyond that, where do you see your business going long term?
So keeping me accountable, plug for Skeleton Key.
That
Definitely
was not on
surrounding.
purpose, by the way. That was not on
Okay.
purpose.
It's surrounding yourself with people who have bigger dreams and goals than you. I feel like is something that's so important. That's one thing the Skeleton Key has brought me, is surrounding yourself with people that are, one, like-minded, but also super driven. As soon as you get into a crowd, and people say it all the time, the 5 people that you surround yourself with, is you're going to become that 6th person. So if you're surrounding people with people that you feel like you're already kind of out of that circle, I don't want to say that in a negative way, but you've outgrown it, then that's your time to grow. So that's one thing that I really was looking for at the Skeleton Key, for one, but one thing that helps me stay accountable. I also have always been very, very goal oriented, and I don't like to let myself down. Like, even in high school, my mom would tell me to stop studying so hard. What mom says that? But it's like all I did. I had to get the good grades. I had to get the best marks. I had to get into the good school. So like all of that kind of plays into my business now. I'm super driven, and I know that I can accomplish things, and that's pros and cons too. I can see already the future. So I'm just like, if I do this, it's going to get me there.
Yeah.
So that's one side of it, is who you surround yourself with. But the other side is really keeping your why close. So when I first started my business, it was so I can have that freedom to travel the world. Now I have a 1-year-old daughter. My husband works full time with me too. So our why is more to be able to be around my daughter, be super present, which is something I'm super grateful for you to continuously push me that way. But just being present, I have certain hours in my day that I know I'm working on my business, and I got to get my things done. So I have my list of all the things that I'm working on, and I just keep my head down and go.
Yeah,
to keep it simple.
And when it's done, it's done.
It's done. Yeah. And that's one thing Justin said. It's like, okay, guys, you have an unlimited to-do list. Like, it never is ending. Like, it just grows and grows and grows. And your goals, as they grow, it just adds more things to your to-do list. Justin said to me, when it's done, it's done. Meaning you cross off your big 3s that you're doing, or whatever your to-do list is that day, and then stop. Like, spend time with your daughter, watch TV, whatever it is that you want to do. Put up your Christmas decorations.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a project in itself. That's what by the way, that's what we were talking about before we hit record, putting up all the Christmas decorations and what to watch on TV. So the checklist is Ted Lasso, the movie Spirited, which is a Christmas musical. And what was we said The Greatest Showman. So yeah, that's what we talked about before we hit record, if you guys want to know the back end juicy stuff. So I want to ask you a question that I ask every single person on this podcast. It's a 2-part question. The first part is, what is your definition of success? And the second part is, what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
So success. I'll be honest. Initially, when I first started my business, it was money. and
Yep.
I wanted to hit that certain goal. Now, success means I can do what I want when I want and however I want to do it. So whether that is to take an afternoon off to spend time with my daughter, or if it's to block off a whole week just to work on my business, like whatever it is that I want to do, go travel, I want to be able to do it whenever I want to do. Don't have to ask anyone, don't have to save for the money, like none of that. I feel like that is the time and financial freedom is a big thing for success for me. And
Yeah.
then the three things, my non-negotiables. So working out every single day, it's either I roll out of bed and I go right to the gym, or my husband goes and I'm with my daughter, then I go. So we have a routine there, but I need to work out. And that is something I always say is when you feel strong at the gym, you feel strong in every other aspects of your life. So that's my outlet when I'm sad, when I'm mad, when I'm happy, the gym is my thing. Second thing is being present with my daughter. Just if that's going for a walk and taking her to the park every day, if it's playing with a new toy, whatever the case may be, like I want to make sure that I am giving her all of my attention, not multitasking, which is something I do very well, but I don't want to do that with her. And then my third thing is give it all I got in my business. So the time that I have, whether it's the 2-hour blocks that I give myself, or if it is in the evening when I'm working, just making sure that I'm giving it my all, I'm giving my clients my all. I'm doing everything that I possibly can to get the results that we all want and deserve.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, being present at all moments, right? Like, I think that that's key to massive success in life, however you want to define it, right? Like when you're with your family, you're with your family. When you're working, you're working. Like there's so many people in the entrepreneur space. And I think we talked about this when we were in San Diego. There's so many people in the entrepreneur space that like, they claim to work all the time, right? They're like literally all night. I'm a night out and I'm an early morning person, and they're working all the time. But I'm like, well, what are you getting done? Like
Mhm.
if I can create success in my business working 3 hours a day, like what are you actually doing those 18 hours a day? Right? It's just about being present in that
Mhm.
moment and doing the things you need to do. I think that's just so key. Now, you talked a little bit earlier about how you've always had this drive to be successful, to be the best, to outdo other people. Where did that come from?
My parents, to be honest. So my dad owns his own business, and my mom has always been the hardest working lady that I know. My sisters are the same. So my mom was the type of person that she'd be at work before we even out of bed, and she'd come home, make us dinner, put us to bed, and then she'd probably be working at nighttime. My dad, same thing. He'd be working on his business, continuously growing it, has his team of people. So having that as my kind of guidance in life, I have that drive from them, but also, I mean, pros and cons to it for sure, because I feel like even as a kid with soccer, for example, I always had to be the best. So I don't know if there's some internal stuff that I have to work on there, but it's benefiting me in the long run, but it's definitely
Sure.
due to my parents.
Yeah, no, and I'm always curious about that because, like, when I was a kid, like, I'm a competitive person, but I don't hate myself if I end up losing. Like, I
Mhm.
don't have that extra kick that some people have. Now, I love winning. I love winning, but I don't
Mhm.
hate myself if I lose. So, like, in school, I was a terrible student. I didn't care. Like, your mom telling you stop studying so much, my mom would be like, "Are you ever going to study? Like, what is going on with your grades? They're terrible." Just such a different thing. So, I'm always curious where those things kind of come from with people, right? Whether
Mhm.
it's your parents or your circumstances or whatever. I think that's fascinating. So
You
I
know
want to
what, to
ask
add
you.
to it, before you ask me
Yeah,
that,
go
I
ahead.
think, like, I'm a big introvert too, so, like, I mean, you've seen it, I'm the quiet one in the group,
Yeah.
but I have a lot to
Well, to
share,
be
so I
fair, we're all super loud, so like it's easy. I feel like it's easy to find the quiet one in this group.
but I'm just quiet in general like that. Unless you give me something to talk about, then I will go, but, like, I'm typically observing everything, so when I'm sitting back and I'm observing, I feel like I'm kinda taking in everyone else's stuff. I'm like, "Oh, I can get that. Oh, I can do this," and it's like, I do have this competitive drive to me, but being an introvert, I felt like from a success side of things, from a accomplishment side of things, it's my chance to shine without actually shining.
Sure. No, I get it. Yeah. No, I love that. And it's what's weird about me is I'm actually an introvert. I'm like, what is an extroverted introvert or whatever?
Mhm.
Like, I recharge alone.
Yeah.
And so I'm very much like, I need that alone time. I used to think I was an extrovert when I lived alone, but now I live with my wife and her 2 kids. And I found out really quickly after moving in with them that I am 100% an introvert and I need my
Yeah.
alone time. It's important. So it's so smart to understand who you are and why you are and all those things, because I think it helps kind of create success. So I want to ask you a question. at the end of your life, let's pretend all the content you've created, all the things you've done has been wiped off the planet, and you could only be remembered for one sentence. What would that sentence be?
Oh, goodness. You know what? I heard you ask Naveed this on his podcast episode. And I was like, oh, that's a good question. If I could be remembered for just one thing, it would be stop caring what everyone else thinks. And that goes back to high school days for like everything. It was always, I was a people pleaser. I'm working on it. So I think that when you take in consideration everyone else's opinions, yours gets lost. So even when I was buying my wedding dress, for example, everyone else is telling me all these things. I'm like, oh, I should probably do this. But like deep down, do you actually want to do it? So if you can just cut all that noise, just really look inwards to what you actually want, that at the end of the day is what will help you get to where you want to be.
I love it. So what's really cool is, and it says it right on your Instagram page, you've generated over 1 million leads for your clients. I think it's over 1.2 million, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And so before I get to the last question that I ask every single person, if somebody wants you to create those leads for them, if somebody wants to learn from you, if somebody wants to hire you in some capacity, or just follow you to get the great content you put out, what's all the good stuff? Where do they go for all that?
Absolutely. So there's really 3 ways to work with me. There's my agency. So Stock Media, we help basically do everything for you. So if you just want to be like, hey, here's my marketing, here's what I want to do, you generate the leads and I just want to show up for my business, that's fantastic. That's the agency. So Stock Media. And for anything on social media, I have Lisa Ann Coaching. That is the second way that you can hire us, is joining any of my courses or programs. So I have a program called the Spotlight Theory. It essentially is a 12-week program that teaches you how to generate leads and sales on automation. So essentially what we do in the agency, I just teach you how to do it. And then the third way is I do consulting and coaching. So whether you just need someone to keep you accountable to actually do things and you want to do it all yourself, you just need someone's guidance, that would be the third way. But for any of that aspect, on any social media platform at Lisa Ann Coaching. And then I do have my podcast, the More Than Social podcast. We talk all things entrepreneurship, digital marketing. So check that one out as well.
I love it. I love it. So like I said, I wrap up every single interview with the same question. Since the show is called The Growth Now Movement, that question is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
I feel like we touched on a few of them, but one that I haven't touched on was actually the moment that I took the leap into entrepreneurship. So quitting my job, that would be my biggest growth. And the reason why is, so I was working in a marketing coordinator position for a sports supplement company. And I was talking to one of the employees about traveling and how I wanted to go on this Europe trip with my sister, but it was 3 weeks. So I was going to use all of my vacation days, all of my sick days, and still take a week unpaid. And he said to me, you know what, life is short, go and do it. The next day, I actually found him having a heart attack and he passed away. And that was my final push to say, you know what, just jump in, go for it, do it. Changed my entire life. And it opened my eyes, obviously, in a million different ways. It was one of the hardest things that I've gone through. But I think if that didn't happen, I don't know if I would have actually taken the leap.
Wow. What a crazy moment in life to really shine a light. And you were young, right? So like, I think young people don't understand that. They don't understand that life is actually really short. Like, what is it? They say that youth is wasted on the young, right? Like, they don't understand that. But to have that moment in your life to shine a light on the idea that, hey, it is short. You never know when this is going to end. But I admire you for taking that huge leap and for building the business that you've built for you and your family. I think it's so insanely impressive. And I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with my audience. Just thank you so much for being you.
Thank you for everything, Justin. It's been amazing to work with you in the Skeleton Key, to be on here, just to connect with you again, surrounding myself with like-minded people. So thank you for being one of my 5.
I love it.